Hello, everyone. I'm Moydog,
And I'm Karmika, and welcome to Command Comms.
the podcast where we talk about everything and anything related to tactical shooters.
All right, welcome back, guys. I know we took a break from last week's episode. I was feeling a little bit under the weather. Thought I had the Rona, but was just some cough stuff. So luckily, all good here on my end. And we had a pretty good holiday. Took a little break, right? So Moy, how are you feeling after this little break? Before we jump into this episode 9, year in review.
Yeah, no, I am feeling great. It's awesome to just be with the family, trying to spend some time with them, but also like I brought my whole setup here. I have both my computers, got my monitors, mics, all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to still be able to stream and make videos and especially do the podcast. So it's really nice. I will say though, man, it feels weird to just see yesterday as, or I guess when this comes out, Monday as the last Monday of 2020. It's pretty crazy. Like the year is actually ending, and
It's been it's been crazy. This year has just had
it's
so much
crazy.
stuff happen. Have you seen Death to 2020 on Netflix yet?
That's 2020. No, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Is it like a year in review?
It's like it's a parody of this year. I highly recommend it to everyone. Yeah, I mean, we just watched it last night. It was pretty interesting. So it's like you watch it and you're like, that happened this year?
Is
And
it?
it's
It
like,
seems
oh
like
my
forever
God.
ago, right?
Yeah, it's
I
insane.
had some people in chat saying that 2020 was actually just the trailer for 2021. So I hope
I
they're
hope
wrong.
not.
I hope they're wrong.
Yeah.
But I hope Karma, I hope you had a good holiday, I guess, up until New Year's here, holiday season the past week. I hope
Hmm.
everyone listened as well, had some time, just spend with family, or, Zoom calls, or, hey, just, I don't know, have some eggnog by yourself and have the virtual Netflix fire, whatever worked over the past week. But speaking of year end, what are we talking about here today?
So yeah, I think we're planning on doing a year in review here for today's episode 9. So we're gonna be looking at all the games, all the tactical shooters. We're gonna be going over and giving them like a grade, I guess you could say, for their performance in the past year and like where they're headed. We're also gonna be talking about some other games that we haven't really touched on too much here. But yeah, we're just gonna be grading them all based on what they're doing and how they've been performing over this past year and what we think of their position in the greater scheme and greater genre. But we're also going to talk on a couple of smaller games like Operation Harsh Doorstep or these other games that are still in development that we are looking forward to playing in 2021. Even Ready or Not is going to be on here that we'll talk about a little bit. And it's going to be pretty interesting because we're going to be taking another big look at just overall all the games in the niche, how the niche has grown so drastically in just 1 year, and the exciting, things and content that's coming to us in the future here soon.
So kicking it right out, uh, the number one, when I look back at 2020, the big standouts for me were Squad and Tarkov, and to a smaller extent, Hell Let Loose,
Mm-hmm.
because Hell Let Loose kind of exploded out of nowhere, whereas Squad's been in the space for years, obviously building up to a release, and Tarkov really hit the ground running last January, and then has just steadily and just grown almost with every month, and especially now as we come to the end of the year, it's absolutely just blowing up. So I think just looking at the tactical shooters as a whole, those three are the powerhouses in my mind.
Oh,
What do you
most
think about these
definitely.
three?
Yeah, I mean, even just like 10 minutes ago before we started the podcast tonight, I was watching Pestily, and he's got 200,000 live viewers on Twitch right now. It's
Do you know how long
insane.
he's been live? Do you know how
48
long?
hours. It's
Uh,
insane.
yeah, right now he is 41 hours and 8 minutes into his his 48-hour stream. It
He's
is insanity.
crazy. Yeah, I mean the man is a machine and he deserves every bit of the success. Like he's like
Totally.
I'm so happy that he's the guy that's getting a lot of the recognition just because I know that he's just such a hard worker. He puts in the effort. He's very kind. He's oh god, he's such a generous dude. Like he's an amazing man and I'm so happy that he's more or less sort of the face of Tarkov and to a larger extent tactical or milsim games as a whole, just because that is the go-to poster child when you think mainstream tactical shooters. Most people are going to think Tarkov, not Squad, not Hell Let Loose. It's going to be Tarkov just because of how much that game has blown up. But I know you did talk about squad release, so I guess this is a great point, right? We're going through the highlights of this last year. I guess we'll take them through one by one. We'll go through, I guess, Tarkov, then squad, and then those two major pivotal points. So as far as Tarkov, like, did you ever expect Tarkov to really grow to the size that's at right now? It's actually insane.
I I remember, I think I was watching maybe Sacriel or someone, I mean, a couple years ago, and he was on the customs bridge where you have all the buses and stuff crossing from Big Red over to construction, like that bridge. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, all right, okay, cool. It's I kind of was into it, but I was like, all right, this is going to be like a one-off thing. It seems kind of slow. It seems a little rough around the edges. I was intrigued, but I forgot about it almost instantly. If you told me like a few years ago that this was going to be the game on Twitch, that people, not just on Twitch, but people just playing at YouTube videos, taking the internet by storm on the tactical shooter type of side, I would have not believed you. I would have more been more inclined to believe that a pandemic would have completely brought the world to an end in 2020. Like, it's crazy to think. I mean, the amount of the tactical shooter mechanics and mentality and the gameplay loop that you get in Tarkov, I think scratches the itch for almost anyone who is in this space or is in this genre. Graphically, it's just amazing. You have these crazy. I think we were talking about a couple podcasts ago where Tarkov isn't fun, but it makes you experience emotions that you can't get. Maybe movies can kind of get you into that space, but it's one of these things that I'm totally sold. Last year I was playing it a little bit. I got into it off and on, and this year hitting it a little harder, especially now with the new wipe and everything. I'm 100% sold. I absolutely love what Battlestate is doing with the game. I'm really looking forward to 2021 and seeing how Streets goes, and how they're actually going to tie this in, all these little raids into one big open world thing, if they're still going to do that. But it's an incredible game, and if you haven't picked it up yet, I would highly recommend at least watching a stream or watching a YouTube video, and hey, just go in and die, and you'll get addicted.
Yeah, I think it's really, really crazy when we think about Tarkov and how big it's grown. Just because, like, usually the typical stream games that like completely pop off are things like Among Us, things like Fall Guys, like really easy, really simple, and like when you look at the screen, you kind of understand what's going on, and in that sense, it's easy for people to watch. But there's something like on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, and Tarkov just fills that niche so well that it's this game that you don't understand anything that's going on. You have no idea, like, oh my god, there's so much information. I don't know why this person's doing this. I don't know what's going on here. And there's something about that is so clearly alluring with like, and they obviously have struck somewhat of a gold mine with this, because people are still coming back and watching these things. Every time it wipes, it's always a big event. There's always a whole bunch, 200,000 people watching Pestily right now. There's obviously a demand for this style of game. What's really interesting is like how big it's gotten and how much like mainstream it's gone. My only question now is like, when does Tarkov have a challenger? Who is going to make the first game that's going to kind of fill a secondary role in that niche? Because I think that is something very exciting to look forward to, because we can obviously see right here, there's something that people want. And this is something that hasn't really been touched on aside from Tarkov.
So I think it's the need and the wants. Like, people, obviously, I'm 100%, I agree, they want a game like this, and you see it in spades with the response Tarkov gets. Part of me feels like this is one of those games where you like to watch it, you like to watch YouTube videos, you like to get invested into this type of community, because it's such a hardcore game that most of the time you yourself don't have time to get good at, or to maybe understand the smaller details, the finite details. Maybe you don't even have time to build a kit, wait in queue, and get in raid, because it takes so damn long sometimes. It's one of those games. Sometimes it's a lot more enjoyable just to sit back and watch, kind of like PUBG was a couple years back. DayZ can be really entertaining if you have a good person playing it and watching. It's just one of those games that I know maybe for like a busy person, it's very difficult to get into, but when everybody's working from home and everyone finally has a little bit more time and the game is having constant updates from a very good dev team, you got something like what's happening right now with Tarkov.
Do you think it's something like what this comes to mind? What comes to mind is like maybe Tarkov is like the Dark Souls of shooters. You know, it's that game that's challenging. It's hard, and at first, what I think it is like when you watch it, you don't know what's going on. So instantly, it's very easy to appreciate someone who kind of looks like they know what they're doing and understands the game. Whereas like you'll watch some other games that are really easy to understand and really easy to play, and it's very I don't know, boring, I guess you could say, for the viewer because they already kind of know what's going on. Sometimes they might get into a backseat kind of mentality and like, oh, you should do this and that. But in Tarkov, the game is so complex. It's so deep. It's there's so many different decisions and things that you have to keep in mind that just watching it is such an entertaining, engaging experience because the game itself isn't simple. It's something that you can appreciate watching someone work out as they play. I think that's probably what makes it also a very good stream game. In addition to the fact that the pacing for it, and I know because you and I we both stream a lot. Like compared to games like Squad or Postscriptum or Hell Let Loose, the pacing for Tarkov for streaming is just there's something about it that's like really really good. It gets really really tense. There's a lot of downtime to where you can interact with chat. It's not like go 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 go, but it's not slow all the time. And even when it is slow, it's because it's tense. You're sitting in a bush, you're waiting, you hear things like it's there's a lot of emotions that literally just from watching it. I know you and I have said that you have to play it to get the full experience, but just from watching it, it can be a horror movie sometimes. It could be a comedy, it could be, you know, a drama. It covers all of these things and it's so very interesting and I'm very glad that Escape from Tarkov went mainstream. So to a second note to kind of piggyback off of that topic is like how do you think that EFT going mainstream has affected the tactical shooter kind of variety or not variety but niche as a whole?
The Oh man, that's a good question. I feel like Tarkov has set the bar in like at a certain level that I'm looking, and we were talking about this as we are coming up, for our discussion points. It's 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 kind of like an indie studio. You have certain expectations of quality of games, of the gameplay loop, experience, updates, communication, community interaction, community response, all this type of stuff. You understand at a certain level. You're like, okay, this is an indie game, and I mean, this game is still in beta.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, it's all this perpetual beta type stuff that we have nowadays. But this, like, dude, I just floored that they're able to do all this. And if I had to just kind of look at Tarkov and say for maybe the success or maybe where they just hit it right, it's just the devs, I think, said, screw you guys. Like, I want this game to be how I want it to be. And by not budging, I think we talked a bit, maybe on our Postscriptum. I forget, a couple, maybe 5 podcasts ago. We're talking about there's a tendency for devs to listen too much to the community or to maybe compromise where they shouldn't have. It seems like for the most part, Battle State says this is the experience we want, and you're either going to like it or you're not, and I don't care. And people have embraced that, and it creates this really tight knit community that just embraces the suck, that embraces getting Tarkoved. And I think that itself has almost just snowballed to this unstoppable machine that Tarkov is. So I don't know how you can look at any of these other games and say that they're even close to Tarkov. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's almost like they're in different playing fields. And the only thing that I think like a Squad, like an OWI, or is it New World with Insurgency, like any of these things that any of these other indie studios, if they're looking at Battle State, I don't know. They nailed it. They just have said we want to do this, and I'm hoping that the V2 V3 updates for Squad, where we now have Fuzzhead coming in and saying, hey, I think we've compromised on a few things that made it more casual. the squad gameplay loop was a little bit more casual. These things that took away from PR, maybe they're now going to go the route that Battle State's going and just going, putting their head down and making the game how they want to be. But I don't know, man. It's something that I'm not seeing from any other studio, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, there's something very clearly. I don't know if it's because the devs are Russian and they do maybe most of their communication with the community in Russian or whatever it is, but there's something that's very distinct about Tarkov in the sense that you feel like they have direction. They don't really ask, "Hey, community, where do you want us to go?" They know where they're going. They don't really need to ask. They don't need to do double takes and check. I mean, sometimes they'll add something in like bad combat meds that give you % damage reduction or something crazy like that,
right?
Or the grenade launcher, something completely overpowered, and they'll tweak it and stuff. But it's not like you see Tarkov devs going like, "Hey, what do you guys think of this? We want to know." Like, it's very clearly they're running the show. You're along for the ride. If something is completely and absolutely, messed up, they do, listen to community feedback and change it if it is that big of an outcry. But generally, the devs at Battlestate are like, "Hey, this is what we're doing," and it's like you get a very clear feeling of like what they're going to do next. And you just trust them with it. Whereas I think that's very different from games like Squad and Postscriptum. But Hell Let Loose does seem to have direction as well, where they don't really listen like, "Hey, what do you guys want?" Hell Let Loose has a vision too. It's very clear. You know that you can trust them to get things done, and that they know what they want to do and how they want their game to be played. Versus games like Squad and Postscriptum, where it's kind of like, I mean, Postscriptum did at the very beginning have a lot of features that they planned on adding without asking the community. They just charged through and started doing things like adding gore or adding weapon resting. They had things that they wanted to do, but it feels like Postscriptum just ran out of steam. Whereas Tarkov is still chugging along, Hell Let Loose is still chugging along, and then Squad, ever since like I think vehicles got added, or excuse me, helicopters got added, ever since then it's kind of felt like Squad has kind of been like trying different things, like maybe we do this and the community likes this, maybe we work on the like it doesn't feel like Squad is like, "Hey, this is what we want to do next, this is the next update, This is going to have the boom, this is how it's going to change the game." It's just like maybe we add the new insurgent things and we add a map here, and it's just like all this tiny stuff that's going around trying to like, "Hey, maybe you'll like this kind of candy," but it's never like as bold. It doesn't feel as bold or as straightforward. The patches don't feel as like, "Hey, this is what we're focusing on now," as much as Hell Let Loose with their massive reworks, or Tarkov whenever they do like big wipes or introduce a new system. It's really, really refreshing, I think, to play games, even if they're not AAA titles, to play games like Tarkov or Hell Let Loose, where it really does feel like that dev studio. Even like, it's so funny too, because Tarkov does it with like little to no communication with the community. I mean, they do podcasts and stuff, but little to no communication. They just freaking do it. But Hell Let Loose is like on the opposite side of the spectrum. They're constantly releasing dev blogs. They're talking to the subreddit and stuff. But both of them feel like, "Hey, we know where we're going with the next update, and it's going to be big." That's what it feels like. We know where we're going, and it's going to be big.
You get excited.
Yeah, you get excited. So hopefully moving in, with Fuzz and some changes within OWI, we do get some really cool things happening for the next year and for the future updates. But until then, like, I think Tarkov is still going to be that game that's like, I have my faith in Tarkov. They're going to run into some problems. I can totally see it, but they've been constantly releasing guns. I mean, have you seen the new Streets trailer?
Oh yeah.
Looks
great.
It's really exciting. But yeah, I know I've been rambling for a bit here for Tarkov, but it's a really different feeling between the games here.
Yeah, and it's maybe kind of my last thoughts on Tarkov as well. It feels like that they have something that nothing out there is scratching the itch. And I have seen YouTubers, streamers, people on Twitter, like just kind of almost complaining that everyone's stuck in this Call of Duty Cold War vibe, where you have this perpetual kind of crappy, just Twitch shooter spawn in BR, like just repeat, and it's all kind of casual. I mean, Black Ops Cold War is essentially, Modern Warfare, which was essentially the Black Ops 3. Like, it's just on repeat, just rehashed. And there's so many people that I see that are just like, is this all gaming is? And every time that I try to convince people to check out something like a Tarkov, they all just roll their eyes like, oh my God, it's just so slow. It's a loot simulator. It's Tetris. It's blah, blah, blah. And then if you can somehow convince them to try playing it, they get really into it and they really like it because it has everything that you actually want to get from a Call of Duty, just in a game that is actually a little bit more hardcore and fun and realistic and emotional. And if you just have to, the barrier to entry from these tactical games, tactical shooter games, has been so high. I feel like for so long that now I'm hoping as we go into 2021, what Tarkov has done this year has been amazing, and I have a feeling it's going to be much more of a mainstay in just general FPS gaming instead of super niched as it has been for the past couple years.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that we've even reached that point already where Tarkov is now, like you say Tarkov, and a lot of people kind of know what you're talking about. I think most definitely it's going to be really exciting to see now that it's here and now that people are playing it. It's a consistent, top viewed game on Twitch. What ideas does it spark? What competitors will rise up? Because that's when we get more stuff for the consumer. And I hope that a lot of other companies or other game developers see the success of Tarkov and say, hey, we can make a game like this. We can, have success with making a hardcore tactical shooter that doesn't baby people, that has, very, very in-depth mechanics and complex design and exciting. It's really exciting because it sets a new bar, like you said earlier, and hopefully we see other people rise to the challenge in creating games like that, so that us, as gamers, as consumers, we get access to more games that are like this, and we can have a variety of games that we can choose in this niche, and we're not completely always locked down to Tarkov. But to wrap it all up for Tarkov, what do you think Tarkov deserves as a grade for its performance this year?
A plus.
A plus. I would agree with that. Yeah. A plus S. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Knocked it out of the park.
Knocked it out of the park.
Tier list S. This would A plus for sure. They did great, and really looking forward to seeing what they have in store for 2021.
Yeah, most definitely. So moving on to the second highlight of this year's Squad release, finally at the door, 4 or 5 years in the making. Finally hits V1. And yeah, what do you think of that, Moy? The game that we've been playing and making content for years. It's actually more or less at its I feel it's really weird and borderline sad to say this, but it's like it's not completed, but it kind of feels completed, and that's not necessarily a good or bad thing.
Do you feel like the chapter is ending? That's the way it seems a little bit.
It feels like the book is closing. I'll put it that way. It doesn't feel like it's opening, right? It feels like it's closing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it's what I've got to say is that Squad had such a high point, and I don't know if it was internal, maybe organization issues or management issues or losing track of timelines or overextending, biting off more than they could chew. They really got such a good just jump of energy with V1 release, and man, did it fall off. And it's really disappointing to say that because we were supposed to get V2 content in October, and we're not going to get it till at least January. And I know they probably don't come back. I think they made a Discord post. They don't come back for like another week and a half or something like that. So I am so excited that Squad a year from now, or Squad a year ago was almost a completely different game compared to where it is now, and they've done great things. V2 is looking good for the SDK as well, so all you modders out there, if you can mod the game, whether you're doing small gameplay tweaks like with y'all's mod, or if you have the complete overhaul mods like Galactic Contention, like the future is bright. But I think a lot of people this year, when they're kind of going over their games, they shouldn't have forgotten about Squad at the end of December, but I feel like a lot of people have, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. Whereas like they felt like there was a lot of momentum. There was a lot of momentum when V1 dropped. Everyone was having fun. There's a lot of people coming back. There's a lot of momentum, and then it just fell off. And this is, I guess, where we get to the part where it feels like the fire is kind of, I don't know if it feels like there's a whole bunch of tiny fires, or if there's like one very confused fire. It just feels like the direction and the momentum at Squad is torn in different ways, and maybe this is because of like leadership problems or whatever, because like we know the CEO is leaving as well, and that's got to do something to the company. You know, having the CEO that's been behind the company for, you know, essentially since Squad has started, step down and depart, like that has to be a signal to some inner workings, I would imagine, to what it's like behind the scenes. Because I don't know, I just feel like I hate to say it too, because I love this game. I've said it so many times, but it kind of feels like the game is like, it's kicked out the door. It's V1 release. They're getting it out. And now they're just doing a little bit of workshop cleanup. And then that's going to be it. And I don't like that feeling, because I love this game so much and I want to be playing it for a while. And it scares me. It literally scares me, because we think how long PR players had to play PR until they got like Squad, right? The spiritual successor. Like, I'm wondering, is anyone going to pick up, or are there any games on the horizon that are going to fill that sequel-ish feeling to Squad, or are we just going to be left with Squad like PR players were for multiple years until a new competitor rises? And that's scary to me, because I think maybe I'm spoiled, right? Maybe we're spoiled. Maybe we're just used to getting content update. Ooh, look, new system. Ooh, look, new content. And it's just like we've hit that waterfall and now we're hitting that dry spell, and it's just, I don't know. It's strange times ahead for sure, but I definitely think that, hey, there's a gap right now for other games to, you know, start announcing. I know we have Battlefield 3. This is one of the newer hype things. Is Battlefield 3 released its modding tools? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I was playing it this past weekend.
Oh, what'd you think of that?
Venice. What is it? Venice
Unleashed.
Is that
Yeah.
what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was actually, wow, we didn't even talk about this to talk about the in our pre-session here. But yeah, Venice Unleashed. I was playing some, I guess, more just like hardcore, I guess, mods, and I played like a gun game, and I am super excited to see how the reality mod, is that what they're calling it? Just reality
I think
mod?
so, yeah.
Or yeah, the new one. So it's basically, if you guys do not know what we're talking about, this is Battlefield 3. Venice Unleashed basically is a modding platform for Battlefield 3 that you can now, if you have a legal copy of Battlefield 3, you can download this client, Venice Unleashed, and you can now play modded Battlefield 3 games. And there's anything from small tweaks where they pretty much like would remove like the blue tint from Battlefield 3. They kind of messed around with maybe some like momentum or some movements, maybe some guns and weapons, things like that. But the biggest thing is the reality mod, which is basically Project Reality in Battlefield 3 instead of Battlefield 2. And when I was playing Venice Unleashed, I was having fun. It basically felt, since I was in a very slightly modded server, it felt like a better Battlefield 3, just ever so slightly. But I could see the, like, Battlefield 3, even though it's old, it actually holds up fairly well. And
I mean, yeah,
visually. Visually. But I played Project Reality maybe a month and a half ago just to try it out, played it for a few hours. I couldn't get into it, man. I just was not having it. It was cool. I had some cool moments. It was fun, but it felt super like you're gonna like it if maybe you played it and you've only been playing it for years. But I feel like Battlefield 3 could actually, or the reality mod with Venice Unleashed, I feel like that could actually be a really good stepping stone for people moving from Project Reality, but also maybe moving away from Squad, at least trying it out. Venice Unleashed is pretty cool for what it is.
Yeah, I think we're just getting started with like all the development possibilities. And it's going to be really interesting. I know we talk about modding a lot on this podcast, but it's going to be really interesting to see what the community can come up with using such an amazing engine like the Frostbite engine, and just seeing, like, to this day, I have to say, like, Battlefield 3 was released how long ago, and it still looks absolutely stunning. Like, the ability to actually get in there.
I was surprised.
Yeah, the ability to get in there now and tweak things is going to be, I think, like, that is a sleeper. Like, if you're sleeping on Venice Unleashed, do some research, look at some videos, and we're only just now seeing the very bare minimum of what is possible with modding a AAA game, which hasn't been possible in God knows how long. Just because, like, and modding, we talked about this before, modding as a service has kind of been like discontinued by AAA titles. And I have to say, just playing AAA titles, it's so nice. Like when I go and I did a short stint of when we played Valorant or even some other AAA title by a big studio. It's like wow, it's so nice playing a game that is optimized, that runs smoothly, the controls make sense, there's nice little features, it looks great. There's something about playing AAA games that I think is you really begin to appreciate after you've been playing tactical shooters that are made by indie studios in early access for a couple years. So I think it's seeing Battlefield 3 get modded and potentially get some, postscript, or not postscriptum, but like squad or PR vibes. I think that's something that everyone should be keeping on their radar, because it's pretty exciting stuff. But going back to squad, which is what we were originally talking about here. So I know we had like even squad caught a lot of eyeballs, right? We had Shroud pop on a couple times. We had Sacriel hop on. Who else played squad? I know there's a couple of other big names. But Dr. Disrespect like, too.
Yeah, Dr. Disrespect. I know Lyric played it a little bit. You had pretty much maybe even XQC was playing it. You had people play it, and that's why when I look at Tarkov and when I look at Squad, obviously they're tac shooters, but they're very different. I mean, you can have a much different experience in Tarkov by yourself than in Squad, especially as a streamer. The overall community interaction. I mean, we saw with Dr. Disrespect, the server basically just died from everyone trying to get in. Things like that are always going to be a little bit different, but like Tarkov built on this momentum, and this momentum that we're now seeing, we actually saw last December as well. Like this same type of thing happened last year, and Tarkov really got going December, January last year, and they haven't stopped. And now we have big updates coming in for this next year. We have maps throughout, the most recent one being the Woods expansion. We also had Customs expansion. There's been a lot of positive things that have happened in Squad or in Tarkov, that if Squad could have stayed on track on the roadmap, I feel like we would have people that would still be playing Squad more. I'm not saying we don't have people that are that aren't playing Squad, but I know for a fact a bunch of people your group of guys that you typically play with who still don't play right now because it's we're waiting, or I got something else to do, or it's just not enticing. Like there's nothing right now that when you looked at Squad release that we really have that wasn't released on September 25th. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, I think there's some correlation as well between like the content creator community or just like the content creation. Like you can see it just in the videos or the streams, the difference between Tarkov and Squad, right? Like Squad streams, like I'll be honest, Squad streams and videos are not nearly, I think, as entertaining as some Tarkov videos or streams. And I don't know if that's because there's like some kind of it's probably because they're just generally different games, and that's probably it. But I feel like Tarkov also leaned very heavily into making sure that their game was streamable or fostering their streamer community. I know you and I talked about this very briefly, but just like as content creators, right, for the Squad community, it feels like the general consensus is like the Tarkov community is one community together. They help each other out. They stream with each other. Yep. They're pushed. The Twitch drops is so big for that community, and I don't even know how Squad would begin to integrate with Twitch. But it just feels like the approach that both games have to content creation is very different. And one thing that you'd have to do a whole bunch of research and testing and studies on is, does that have a definitive impact on the popularity of a game? And if so, like what measures should be taken from studios to kind of feed that? Because one thing I can tell you for sure is like I still to this day get messages like, hey Karma, you're the reason I bought Squad, like your videos. And we know for a long time Squad did zero marketing. So I think there's like some really interesting research here to be done on like how effective you can utilize, content creators or how important they are to the survival of a game. Just because it's, when you think about Squad content creators, like honestly, it's you, it's me, It's maybe a couple of Nikolai's videos for sure. It's Drewski drops a video here and there, but there's no like dedicated squad streamer or content creator aside from Urimi. You know, it's not that kind of game. Whereas Tarkov, you could rattle off tons of names, and it's pretty interesting that at this stage, 5 years in, it's still for the most part you, me, Nikolai.
It's very weird because I was thinking of this the other day, and like as a not to get too off track, but since we're even talking about it, the way that the community feels about Tarkov and about Squad, I feel like the streamer community also feels, or the content creator community has that same type of feeling where you're all in this together. And I feel like with Squad, yeah, it's a very supportive community. And don't get me wrong, like I say this all the time. Like if you're a new player, like Squad is probably one of the best communities that I've been a part of, that I've had in gaming. Just the pleasure of meeting new people and learning and teaching new people. It's amazing. But when it comes to like collaboration or feeling like you're part of I guess a group or something like that, Tarkov just has such a bigger reach, and the things that can happen in Tarkov, like it almost evens the playing field maybe in a way, because you have people where if you get really really good in Squad, yeah, you're most likely going to just roll a server, or you're just going to go, you're going to pop off, and sometimes it can just get super stale or whatever. But in Tarkov, you can kind of, hey, today let's do duos with this person, or let's do a 5-man and see what happens. Let's try to go, just leg meta and see what stupid shenanigans we can do. Whereas if you do that in Squad, it's almost like you're ruining other people's games just to try to have fun,
Yeah, that's
And
I
it's
definitely, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, yeah, no, go ahead, because it's that one thing is what frustrates me. Whereas you're kind of boxed in to a certain point because you want to have fun, but at the expense of like 100 people, it's like, dude, that sucks.
I agree with you completely. Like, and I didn't really, we're getting into some weird things on this podcast episode, but yeah, like I didn't even think about that before. Whereas like when I make content, I can't really do too many like crazy challenges or do this because I have 50 people on the server. Okay. People think that when I super fob, I just drop a super fob and I don't give a shit what my team says. And then usually the only times I drop super fob is if I go through every SL. I'm like, hey, are you okay if we super fob? Are you okay if we super fob? Because I'm not about to sit there and ruin the time for 30 other people. Like I usually, when I super fob, I'm making sure, like, before we get into the match, I'm asking everyone on the team, are you okay if we do this? Because I know that, and I'm just being a considerate human being, I know there's 30, 40 other people in the whole team, and then the 50 people on the other team that are like experiencing this with me. I'm not about to subject the entire server to my super fob unless like all the SLs check out on it. So like, it's very clear, like every time I play Squad, I have to play it a certain way to make sure that not only am I having a good time, but the team is having a good time. And it's this really weird obligation, that once, especially you become more of a bigger personality, whether like on stream or YouTube, like you have this responsibility, right? To ensure that everyone plays the game to a somewhat competent level, and that when you're playing with them, that you're enabling that experience. You're not doing too many weird things, because let's be real, like you and I catch a lot of flack for doing like, oh, Karma did this weird ass super fob. It's like, yeah, but I checked out with most of the SLs to do this. Like it's like, and people get the wrong idea, but even just watching it, right? Even just watching it, people just jump to that conclusion of like, oh, you're just doing it for content. And I'm like, I'm sitting there like I remember reading this comment, and this triggered the crap out of me too. It's like I'm sitting here and I'm working. I've led the Squad Ops community for 2-3 years now. I put like a whole month of work into getting the ops mod working, right? And I see this comment like, Karma only does all of this for content. I'm like, really, dude? I started this entire One Life community that's running to this day, and I pay for all the servers, and I do this just for content. Like it just blows my mind, the perceptions that some people have. And like that really, like you said, when you talk about boxed in, that is a really, really big feeling that we get when we play these games on stream or when we're recording. Is like you feel boxed. You have to do the meta thing, because if you you try to do some cool things for content, but if you do some that's a really, really, really thin line to toe. Like you cross that a touch, and it's like he's just farming content, ruining the experience for the team, and you don't want to deal with that. So it's like it's
Well, what also like to add on to that, if you try it and it doesn't work, you got 40 minutes of some broke ass game that you got to try to just slog through.
yeah.
Whereas, like, if it happens in Tarkov, hey, that didn't work, and let's reset and get a new raid.
Yeah, Tarkov
I
is so
mean,
much more instanced, right? It's so much
yeah,
smaller, and you can do crazy things like different challenges or even running with duos. I really do think that Tarkov just all the stars that could have possibly aligned to make a game go freaking viral aligned with Tarkov. It hits everything. It's exciting to watch. It's a complex game. It's got perfect. It's like the one of the best games for collaboration because it's like you go in with duos or whatever. It's really intense. It's just they did so much, and I don't even think they planned for it. They didn't even plan for it to go viral, right? It's not a game that's built to go like, hey, this is gonna be we're gonna be like Call of Duty. We're gonna have all the players.
yeah,
It wasn't built like that, and they just all the stars aligned, and it's like it's good, but it's just crazy.
yeah. And I feel like I think what we were talking about squad when we started all this. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like squad could have had. Obviously, it's 100% different between squad and Tarkov in terms of just the type of experience as well. But being able to just capture the momentum, like Tarkov just captured that and just built on it, is why we're still talking about Tarkov, where we're talking about Tarkov, and why we're talking about squad how we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
They had such a good opportunity to do it. We were so excited. I know, like, I want to try new and exciting things. I want the mods to work so we can keep trying new and exciting things. I want the new insurgent stuff. I want V2. I want X, Y, and Z. We still don't have it. And at the end of 2020, which should have been a banner year for squad, I'm I'm kind of like, okay, all right, well, we'll hey, I'll see you in V2
Mm-hmm.
whenever that is. And yeah,
Yeah, it's just like I think most of the frustration, and we've said this multiple times, but just to rehash it, like the most of the frustration that you and I have with this game is just knowing that it could have gone a much different direction.
exactly.
That's it. Like it's okay how it is. Like honestly, it's okay how it is right now. It's fine. No one's like I've gotten 3,100 hours out of the game. It's completely fine. But it's just
Yeah.
knowing that we had that golden era. We had it. It was there. It was tangible. And then it kind of just was like, whoop. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess. But that all in all, what would you say that you give squads for a grade for its performance this year?
You're smiling. Why are you smiling? What you thinking of your grade? Do you have to?
It's just
Let's
I'm
see.
putting you on the spot because you're the first one that's
Putting me on the spot. Okay. All right. If I had to give squad, I think it would be a disservice to get them anything less than a B.
Mhm.
And maybe edging on a B plus type thing. But I think from honestly, squad a year ago was not release ready. And yes, there's issues with it. Yes, there's problems with it. But I just had an awesome 6 hours of squad today. I had memorable games. I had a lot of fun. I still like playing squad. I still enjoy it. I still love making content for it. I still load in and play with people every day in squad. I just it could have been an A year, and it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is like it could have been an A plus year. It could have. I know for a fact it could have been.
Definitely.
But I will concur. I will also give it like I'd say a B. I could go B plus B minus depending on a couple things that happened throughout
Yep.
the year. But definitely I think the most disheartening thing and the reason why it's getting a B right now is just because I do feel like the book is closing, the chapter's ending. I mean, with Merlin, the CEO leaving, like that's like a big hit. Like that shakes my confidence like pretty hard, and it's just really disheartening to see something like that happen. I mean, it's like I said, it's great. 5 years of development, 5 years of hard freaking work. OWI, you did it. Game's out. V1. I just want more. I'm just greedy. So I give
Yeah.
you guys a B plus. Yeah, B plus sounds right. Just because I know for a fact that it could have, if we got, the Marines, if we got the V2 update, like before the end of
Yep.
the year, hell yeah, 100%, you're getting an A. But delay, and then God knows we don't even have like a defined date come January, come New Year of like when V2's dropping. God knows how much longer it could get delayed. It's just like I don't know. You get a B for that. I'm sorry, but that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. But yeah, I guess we should move on because we are chugging through some time here. The next game I guess we could talk about here. Let's change things up, right? Let's add some nice things on the horizon, right? Let's talk about the future.
Nice things on the horizon.
The future.
2021.
What games? Yeah.
Yeah, is what out of everything, whether it's a new game coming in or maybe some updates, is there something that in 2021 that isn't Tarkov, that isn't Squad, that isn't any of these things? Is there something that catches your eye where you're like, hey, I think this is actually going to be really cool?
Oh boy. So, I mean, I guess we could look at the new generation of tactical shooters as a whole. And just, I mean, I'll list them out just in case, some of you guys who are listening to the podcast haven't heard of these games. Maybe they'll, it's like, oh, new games that we can talk about. We've got a couple of cool things coming, right? We've got Beyond the Wire, which is by Redstone, which is a group that's using the Off-World core, which is the same core that Squad's using. It was World War I shooter. Pretty interesting stuff. Definitely have a way to go, but I think there is some promising gameplay there. We've got Operation Harsh Doorstop, which is, if you hadn't heard of it, it's going to be Blue Drake 42's custom game, which he's got a whole bunch of videos. Go check that out. Ground Branch has been chugging along. Escalation we'll talk about as well. Ready or Not, which has had a weird like, have you been following that? Let's start there. Have you been following Ready or Not?
It's not ready. It's not ready.
It's
it seems like so these type of SWAT games, did you ever play the original SWAT?
I did not.
Okay. I was super pumped when I had people almost earlier this year, I think, when we first started getting some gameplay from it, right? Is that how?
Yeah.
It was positive at the beginning of this year and the end of last year. If I'm
there's a lot of hype.
Correctly.
Yep. There's a hype.
So I got a lot. I remember because I was also delving a little bit into Ground Branch, which is also same type of feel-ish, and then I get an update into Ready or Not. I think I actually might have looked at a Big Fry video because I know he's been following these types of games for ages. And I was just so disappointed in Ready or Not, where I was like, I'm actually impressed that they managed to ruin this so spectacularly.
It was rough. Their gameplay trailers looked really good. It looked gory. It looked mysterious. It looked edgy. And then and there was a lot of hype. People were really behind the studio. And then it released into an open beta or like an open showcase gameplay testing thing for PvP. And it was a mess. The sounds were all over the place. The animations were weird. The game looked like it was not good. It was not pretty. And ever since then, I think Ready or Not has gone pretty quiet. I think the community has... a good chunk of it, not all of it, but a good chunk of it has turned on it. It's just, that was going to be one of the games that I was very excited for. I played the technical test and was not impressed. So that, until any future notice, has been knocked off my hype list. That is no longer a game I'm looking forward for.
Didn't it seemed to be something that was so tactical, and if I recall correctly, it almost felt like Siege or something, just like...
That's how it looked, yeah.
Yeah, it looked just a lot different and felt a lot different from the original impressions that you got from the game. And it's just, yeah, I feel like in order to come back from that just horrible experience, they kind of have to do what is it? No Man's Sky did. Just go dark, fix whatever they got to fix. Just literally focus on that one. Yeah, and just come back and say, hey, we kind of screwed up, but this is what we actually
still delivered.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe, but that's not even on my radar, man. I don't know.
Yeah, that's no. When it is 100% confirmed good, I'll look at it again, but I'm not spending any time diving in or looking at secret leaks and stuff. That is so far it gets an F, honestly, for its performance this year. It was a complete letdown. I don't know why they let people play test it early. It was just a mess. So yeah, that'll wrap up Ready or Not real quick. Operation Harsh Doorstop. Have you heard much about that?
Yes, yeah. So Blue Drake and is it actually just called Blue Drake Studios, I believe? Is that
Drakeling Labs, I think it is
Drakeling
now.
Labs?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, Drakeling Labs. Yeah, so I've been casually following this, and some people do pop in every once in a while and say, "Hey, check it out." I had someone DM me say this game is going to change the face of all tactical shooters in the future, and I can kind of see it. I do like what they're doing, especially just being this whole what is open source? Is that what we call it?
Yeah, I
Where
think that's the angle is open source.
yeah, it seems really interesting. It gives me very uh Alpha Squad vibes. It kind of gives me like when I was looking at Blue Drake's videos and kind of looking at the dev process and just the overall feel of the game. It feels very 2015 Squad, and not in a bad way, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to see where it goes. I just I I want to I don't know how to put this in a way that people are not going to take it wrong. I am excited to see the game. I am just sick of playing perpetual beta games, like unfinished games.
Yeah.
So I will be following this closely. I'm super excited. Blue Drake's great guy, great content creator, and now with Operation Harsh Doorstep, I'm super excited to see where it goes. Um, when it's in a good spot, I will be more than happy to dive in and actually spend some time to give it a full on, spin.
Yeah, so that might be like this is I guess I'm kind of biased when it comes to Operation Harsh Doorstop because like I know Blue as a content creator. He helped me get my first couple, steps up from just being it being a hobby and just going not mainstream, but going I guess more or less professional. Like he was a big influence for me. But just knowing how much passion this dude has for his game, I think when we talk about fire and direction, like I know Blue has an idea. He's not stumbling about and he wants to get it done. So
Yeah.
I have confidence in his vision. We will just, but like staying real, right? We're just going to have to see how that comes out realistically and what the actual execution looks like. But I have faith in the man's vision and direction. It's just, it's early. It's definitely, like you said, early squad vibes. But like, when I when I think like it's so sad because I keep going back, I keep punching on Squad, but it's like like Squad doesn't have that. It's not like all right, this is the next system or update. Like and it's all like this is the direction we're going. You don't have that. Whereas like I'll talk to Blue or we watch Hell Let Loose. It's like yeah, this is what we're talking about. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing. Or we just like I think that's such an important thing for a dev studio that I think that really I think I realized that recently is like. It's not enough to just put out pretty content and to just keep like feeding us. I guess more or less I see it like candy, just superficial, like, oh, like nice piece of candy and then it wears off fast and you lose that sugar high. But like it's that direction, that passion, that kind of long-term goal or idea that's in someone's head that you can see and you want to follow them in that journey to achieving it. And then not only stopping when they get there, but continuing. I think that's really appealing to me, and I don't really see that too often. So Blue's Operation Harsh Doorstep, I definitely think that if you haven't heard of it, you should check it out. But I mean, I get those same kind of vibes with like Venice Unleashed, right? Battlefield 3. Like that's a big project. That's a project that takes passion, right? You don't just freaking do like it's not like oh we're adding a new faction and stuff or we're just gonna tweak a couple things. You're doing something big with that, right? And you're enabling others to do something big. And so that is also I think a sleeper, and we talked about that before, so I'm not gonna hash too much into it. But like those two, I think, are going to be moving into the next year. Two projects that I think will really carry us through 2021.
I hope so. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm excited for these types of things. I obviously like the big boys out there that are. I mean, these are indie studios, but a little less indie than a dev team, a mod team. Making something happen like Venice, and then a much smaller team like Drakeland Labs. But I'm super excited. Like I said, don't take it the wrong way. I see the passion. I see. I watched his whole. I think he had a really long video of him just talking about Operation Harsh Doorstep. And
All of his
I watched
videos are really
I
long
watched the whole.
videos.
I know. I watched the whole. I was intrigued because he just talks about it, and you can tell he just loves the project and the end result that they've gotten to at this point. So yeah, 100% on board. I don't think it's fair to give any of these guys grades because they're just working on stuff.
Mhm.
But I think it's something to keep an eye out for in the future.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff, and like some other smaller things and other projects I've been working on, or that have been worked on, like Ground Branch. That game's been in development forever, but like even that game, I don't know why I keep touching on this, but like even that game, you feel like there's direction, right? You feel like you know that they're
Yeah.
chugging along, they want to do something, and they're fucking doing it. That's awesome. It's passionate. They're executing. Yeah, it's just Ground Branch has been like a really cool game that it's more or less a sleeper game. It's really not a popular game by any stretch of the imagination. Like it's very low key, but like when you play, it's like a lot of you can feel the love that has gone
Well,
into that
you
vision.
had like, was it springtime? I think I know I got a little bit into Ground Branch, checked it out a bit, or I think earlier this year, um, maybe even a little bit last year as well. I'm losing track of time. 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but that one, it definitely felt like I when I played it, I think honestly maybe a year ago I played it. I've seen some updates. I've seen some maybe quality of life type stuff. I haven't seen too many groundbreaking stuff from Ground Branch this year to really change my opinion. Yeah, I know they have a very clear direction. They have a very uh, good idea of what they want the game to be. I maybe I'm just not in the loop as much as I thought, but it doesn't seem drastically different from 2019 Ground Branch.
No, they work very, very, very slowly. But every time they make updates and stuff, it's stuff that is system changing, or it's. I think there's a lot of passion there, and I feel that passion, and it's definitely by no stretch of the imagination a popular game. But
Yeah,
as far as like development, like if like they get like an A+ for me, just because of like that. I
the
know
dev
they work
team.
slow, but it's like with what they can do, they do a lot, and so they deserve some love. If you haven't heard of it, I definitely recommend you check it out. Like for all the viewers listening. But
Yeah, I would when we played it, the groups that do play Ground Branch, uh, they basically brought me under their wing. We had a great time, doing the operations and stuff. Yeah, it's one of those games where I would feel confident buying it because I am on board with the dev studio. I just know they move very slow. Yeah, so
yeah,
yeah,
it's like it's one of those games where you don't need to find full servers. You just go in with like you find a buddy or two. You're like, hey, let's play some Ground Branch, and you go in, you set up a
exactly.
co-op versus AI lobby, and you have a good time. And it's is there something like special about Ground Branch that makes it feel not like a full game, but almost like I don't know, almost like a training sim. There's something weird about like the vibe I get from Ground Branch. It's not like a game in my mind. It's like it's like a short experience. Short. I don't know how I would describe it, but it's a
I
very
know
interesting
exactly
game.
what you mean. I don't know how to phrase it, but yeah, it feels like more of an experience than a game.
Yeah, like a
Like
puzzle.
yeah, you go in, you try to figure out how to get through this operation with your buddy, and you're like, okay, cool, and then you're just like, I might not play it for a little bit, but then you're like, hey, dude, you want to just go in Ground Branch for like half an hour, and figure out what to do?
Yeah,
It's very fun. It's kind of I don't know if you ever played GTFO,
I have
but it's
not yet. I
also
still need to.
yeah, you should. Technically, I guess that's not really tactical shooter y, but it has that same vibe where you go in, the game isn't completely finished. You know, it's still in beta, like or even alpha. I don't know. It's super early access, kind of like Ground Branch. But you can tell the devs just are on board. They have a direction. They know what they want to achieve, and because of that, even though the game isn't completely fleshed out, you enjoy the current product that you get,
Yeah, I'll
which
have to
is
try it
very
out.
very important. Definitely.
Hmm.
I recommend it. Yeah, grab a few people, get what is it, 4, I believe, and yeah, have fun.
Have you jumped into VR at all yet?
I don't have a VR setup. I'm looking into this next year and trying to see how I can just dive into that because I'm one of those guys where tried VR when it first came out years ago because I'm a boomer apparently, and I got super nauseous. And since then, I've
Straight
taken a
stayed away from
wide
it.
berth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been told day in and day out, like, no, Moy, it's like completely different now. It's life changing. You're gonna love it. But I've always just been super cautious when man, it was bad.
Yeah, I saw we is slightly off topic, but I saw Controlled Pairs. He's been doing, Controlled, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's an awesome content creator. He's
he's
been
doing
doing some
Onward.
he's doing some really cool niche stuff where he like breaks down CQB theory. And he's been doing it in Door Kickers, which is really
Or Kickers,
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like an arcadey, top-down arcade shooter, but like he goes like he goes hard into like the explanations. Like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna kick this door open, and because like we were watching these things, it's really entertaining stuff. But he's also jumped recently into Onward, which is a VR tactical shooter, and
Yep.
he had the same response as I did, which is like Onward is like a game changer, but it's a game changer that's like it's not quite there yet. You know what I mean? It's a really exciting feeling when you play Onward because you're experiencing this like holy shit, this is the next thing. But it's just not there yet. But you know definitively in your bones that this tactical first person VR experience is the next step. It's so weird to have this disconnect of like that this is the next thing, but it's not at the stage where you could play it right now. And that's what he's going through right now. So it's funny watching his videos because he's going through like the oh shit moment. So I'm wondering if you have had that experience of like, oh yeah, I played Onward and it was like this massive crazy thing, because that studio also has a vision and they're chugging along pretty well here.
Yeah, that's the one where I restricted to YouTube just because I don't have it yet. But that's one thing as I'm looking through this space, I feel like tac shooters are in such a good position to take VR and run with it. That the studios, I've seen these Onward videos as well. They look cool. They look immersive, and if you can be immersed, because I mean, still to this day, like in a good firefight, whether it's a Tarkov, which is has a completely different type of feel to Squad, but I mean, I duck, I get into it, I am there, and so if VR can add that, and you have a studio that's behind Onward that is already just teasing you with these types of moments where you're just like, dude, I want more. This is it. This is it. This is it. Then, maybe 2021 is where we can really get some good progress into that space for tech shooters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. There's a lot. I think VR is the next thing, but just the technical requirements, and then they're getting better, right? Like you no longer need to be tethered. Like I think the new Quest or something, the Oculus Quest, like you don't even need a tower, a computer to be hooked up to. It's completely wireless. You just draw the space. So we're getting there. Like every step, like because before you have to set up all the motion sensors, and then the biggest thing I think is going to be the space requirement, right? Because like just having that amount of room that you can move around in, like that's something you can't sell to someone. They just have to have it. And it's just kind of like, well, if they don't, then it's hard to experience this thing. So I don't know how they get over that kind of challenge, but I think there's a lot of potential for VR and tactical shooters. I think the mix of those two, God, because like I remember like one of the distinct memories I have of playing Onward on VR is like I'll be standing in a room and watching an AI run at you in VR is absolutely 100% one of the most terrifying feelings. I've played horror games, I've watched horror movies, I've done like scary like the haunted house. Like there's nothing more terrifying than watching an AI, even in this like low poly like Onward game, like run at you. Like you get the feeling someone in real life is literally charging at you to kill you. And it's I think that's literally the next step, is just seeing the technical improvements over the next couple of years here. But that's something I think also on the horizon, or if you haven't checked it out yet, 2021 comes around, like they're making improvements, like the technological improvements for VR and just Onward as a game, like they're pushing along here.
So for some of these, I guess we touched on some big boys, we touched on maybe some more niche, smaller ones. For the games, kind of in the middle, let's let's briefly touch on like the Hell Let Loose, a Postscriptum, and maybe like a
we kind of rolled by those.
kind of rolled by them, but yeah. So Hell Let Loose, my thoughts on Hell Let Loose this year, and we kind of touched on one of these other. I don't know. I forget even when we talked on it, but Hell Let Loose managed to have a year which I don't think anyone expected when you had Postscriptum already in the space. If that's, I guess, how I felt.
Completely stole the game and run away with it. Just
100%.
Yeah.
And they had a chance I guess we can kind of talk about Hella Loose and Postscriptum since they kind of go hand in hand a little bit, even though I know both games don't like that. But uh, they both progressed, and at the Karantan update mid-year, Postscriptum essentially lost the battle. Hell Let Loose uh, came out of Karantan and just went upward, and Postscriptum is kind of on this downward trend where they were both having huge performance issues. But I really just feel like, I don't know, maybe if it was like a morale thing or just the way that, at least from the studio side of things, it sounded, maybe the studio was in turmoil over at Hell Let Loose and they're still having issues and it was just chaotic and whatever. But it all looked okay, from a consumer side of things. Whereas on Postscriptum, Karantan came out and it was super cool, but nobody could play it. And then a few months later, we still don't have any issue. We don't have any updates. Nothing has really changed, and then we get no updates. They have a whole bunch of people leave the studio, and then you get a zombies update for like Halloween, and you're just like, dude, what is this like timeline? I never expected this happening from Postscriptum.
Yeah. I think we talk about this a little bit over at Ops, where like Postscriptum literally debated themselves because I remember in the very early stages of Postscriptum's development, there were rumblings of Hell Let Loose, and there was just like, oh my god, Postscriptum and Hell Let Loose, which one should we buy? There's gonna be two games in this space, and Postscriptum made the bold play of announcing full release very early on in development before Squad had even announced full release. And that was like what's the game plan here? Is it just a publicity stunt to beat Hell Let Loose to market? And that's what it turned out to be. It's like Hell Let Loose released early access. They chugged along. They had issues, but people were like, okay, this is early access. Postscriptum releases full launch. And it's like, this game is poorly optimized. There's a couple issues here. It feels too much like Squad at that point because they didn't have gore. They didn't have all these other features added yet. Because when you think about it, Postscriptum released full release, and then they added gore, and then they added weapon resting, and then they added additional chapters. It was like really weird. And so I think when Karantan rolls around, people in Hell Let Loose sphere understands that, hey, this is still an early access game. It's labeled early access game. You release Karantan in Postscriptum space where it's full release, and it's like, the game has been full release for a while now. Why are the optimization problems not fixed? Where you release a whole new map, still can't play at 10 FPS. So it's like, I think that was like one of the final blows where it's like, yep. Boom, can't fix optimization. We're going to Hell Let Loose. And ever since then, like, Hell Let Loose has just been growing. And Postscriptum is like, devs leave the studio, quiet on updates, SDK delayed, SDK finally releases Halloween update, and Hell Let Loose is like, okay, boom, we're teasing the Eastern front, right, with Russia, and it's like all these cool, exciting stuff. I'm really excited. What's actually really exciting to me is if Hell Let Loose will do a Pacific theater. I think that's going 100%. To be, that is, like, I can't remember the last time, and I'm not counting the Battlefield games, the last time we got a really awesome Pacific Theater game, because that'll be pretty cool.
We had Rising Storm 2?
Yeah.
What was it? The Pacific one?
Yeah, it is Rising Storm 2.
Yeah, that was the last time I think we saw it. I think Call of Duty World at War was amazing. Even if you don't like Call of Duty games, it was a great Pacific Theater, a great game in general.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long while. So that's something where, I mean, we talked about this before, and we've even mentioned it here on this podcast today. But man, Postscriptum, I'm almost surprised that you could have the start of the year for Postscriptum. I mean, I'm not going to say it was super bright, like, oh, I'm super hyped for it, but it didn't seem bad in any way. And you're kind of ending 2020 just kind of like, okay, well, I really look forward to playing this game for half an hour when modding comes out. And until then, I'm playing literally like I don't really have an itch to play it. I don't really see any time in the near future to play it unless there's maybe a really cool event with some of the mods that I have seen being worked on. 100% different from Hell Let Loose, which is just whether or not you like the gameplay loop, I think is neither here nor there. But they've managed expectations, that they've managed everything just really really well over the year. If I had to give them grades, Hell Let Loose would get an A. Um, Postscriptum would get maybe like a D plus, C minus, something like that. It's just it's there. Okay, what's passing is C. D. Wait, D's get degrees. Okay, they get a D plus. They get a D plus. They made it through the year. 2020 was rough in these unprecedented times, but I'm extremely disappointed in Postscriptum, and yeah,
Yeah.
not impressed.
It's it's really weird because there were times when I distinctly remember a period of time where I stopped playing Squad to exclusively play Postscriptum. I literally did not touch Squad for such a long time while playing Postscriptum. And it was the golden age. And I feel like same thing with Squad. And this appears to be like a problem within indie studios. Is like they just run out of steam. I don't know what happens if there's a problem behind the curtains or whatever it is. It's like they go. Oh, amazing. And then boom, they hit something. It's like, oh shit. It's like, oh, like I don't know what we do. And it's just these months and months and months, and then that's it. It dies. It's like, that's the one thing about Tarkov is like, even though some of these updates are pretty long in between, like every time they come back, it's like like these wipes are huge. These are huge events. Like it's not just a patch dropping. And that's just, once again, like we go back to the stars aligning, the nature of Tarkov. That's just the nature of the wipe. The wipe is going to do that. It's going to make this huge event. It's not just like, oh, small patch and then people come back and play for a while. Like it resets everything and everyone's grinding again. And it's like, I almost think, and I think we've talked about this before, I really do think that Tarkov should just fully embrace that wipe kind of thing and turn it into like a Diablo season thing and just focus on like just seasonal wipes. Like a wipe is coming every single season. You have leaderboards for every wipe and you turn that into a game mechanic. Because I think people are fine with that, right? Like I actually enjoy that. I actually enjoy the idea of it wiping. And then you have the hardcore wipes where every season it wipes. And then you have the normal wipes where you just continually have everything. And you never wipe that account on the hardcore or the normal servers. And I feel like that'd be perfect. But I don't know. They're gonna do whatever. That's my like. If I could change anything, that'd be it. It's like make the wipe seasonal, make them always timed on a certain amount, and then you have two brackets. You have the hardcore where it's like every time they wipe, you remove everything, and then you have the normal, which is like maybe it's a soft wipe. They do something, but you keep all your stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the main issues that I've seen with people having about the wipes is this one just lasted so long that people got really invested in their character, so it's something that I expect something every time there's a wipe. I feel reinvigorated. I love it. I wish it happened a little bit more often, minus all these kind of BS quests that we have to go through. Some of the ones are a little nonsense, but it's a feeling that every game that I'm looking at on this list does not have the same hype, does not have the same feeling with, I feel like, the dev studio. Not to say you have negative feelings with other dev studios, but it's very different the way that they manage all these expectations, that they manage the patches. One thing that I noticed, I don't know if we've said this before, but Tarkov will literally say, "Hey, we're about to do something, and it might break the game. So sorry if that happens. Here it goes," and then they will patch it. The service will be down or whatever happens. Like, nope, didn't break the game. Okay, have a great day. Like communication from on that type of level from an indie studio is great. I think Hell Let Loose has nailed it with the communication. I feel like some of these other studios are a little lackluster when it comes to communication, which is why I think when you look at a year in as a whole, looking back, you remember the good parts of the game because you weren't like just stewing in the bad parts or the frustrating parts. And communication goes a long way. So I think if there's anything that smaller studios might need to focus on as you move forward, like embrace the social media, embrace content creators who are in the trenches with this type of stuff, because you can see it with Tarkov. Like people are beaming, people love playing it. The community is 100% different than literally any other tactical shooter community that's out there right now.
I think that's like you touched on it really, really briefly. There's like the small updates, just getting like launching up Tarkov one day and then saying, oh, there's an update. You get the feeling that like it's constantly being worked on, you know?
Yeah.
Like I think that's a very small mental thing. But like when you play squad, you're just like, oh, there's no small fix. There's nothing. Like Tarkov is constantly like, okay, we're gonna tweak this, we're gonna add this, we're gonna do this.
Yep.
Small patch here, small patch there, small quality of life thing, bug fix. And it's like I think that constant attention to the game, like it gives this really different vibe of like, hey, we're here, we care, we're continually working on it, and you can see it. And whereas like, and it's probably just a misconception or a bad perception of things with Squad and Postscriptum and these other games that just wait months for one massive patch. It's like they could be they could be working on so many things, and the next patch could really be massive. But like until then, perception is reality. If people think your game is dead and it's gonna die, then it's gonna die. You need to be doing these small things, because I think even with that one little patch every month or so, maybe you just do one monthly balance patch. Like I think that speaks leaps and bounds to the community that's playing the game, and that kind of bridges that misconception or that misunderstanding there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of things to look forward to in 2021. We've got a lot of cool games coming out. We've got Squad. Hopefully they start pushing patches out. Tarkov is chugging along like crazy. A couple games, indie games coming up on the radar, but nothing. I don't think there's any like big blockbuster that you and I are really, really looking forward to.
No, honestly, looking into 2021, my biggest, I guess, wish is Squad hits the ground running when they come back from the holidays. Tarkov releases Streets, which I mean should happen relatively soonish. Early part of the year, or early half of the year rather. And everything else, I'm kind of okay with just waiting until games get more finished, and that's not a slight on any of these studios working on anything. It's just we have some. I have a large scale game like Squad. I have more of a a solo type experience, or at least smaller number experience like Tarkov. And then if I'm feeling something a little bit completely different, we got the handful of the SWAT-ish, super tactical ground branch. This Onward people can look into. Even the door kickers you mentioned, I've seen a lot of that picking up on especially YouTube and things like that. So it's I'm kind of okay. I obviously wish there was a little bit more movement in this space. Kind of like the the Apple and Android. It's like you only have these two big games. Like, is there anything else out there? So I'm always kind of curious if there's another game that's just going to come out of nowhere and surprise us all. I'm not seeing that. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe we're just content with what we have, but I almost feel like Tarkov in 2021 will feel like a new game, and I'm hoping Squad in 2021 will feel like a new game, and I'd be okay with just that.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's to 2020, the end of it, coming to an end of a chapter for sure, and exciting things ahead. Like you said, I'm definitely. Oh, I hope 2021 is better than this year in more ways than just one. But wrapping it up, last episode of the year. Thank you everyone for listening to the Command Comms podcast. We really do appreciate it. And we're looking for an explosive 2021 start, coming back with some pretty exciting stuff, hopefully. But guys, as always, make sure that you follow the YouTube channel, you subscribe, leave us comments down below, any feedback and things of that nature. And Moy, where can they find your content?
Twitch.tv/Moydog and YouTube.com/Moydog. What
Awesome.
about you?
YouTube.com/KarmaCut. So that's going to be it, guys. I do appreciate it. We appreciate it. It's been a banger of a year.
I also appreciate it.
But yeah.
Have a wonderful New Year's, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the other side.
Peace.